We are on. Cool. Okay. You're probably gonna hear my washing machine a bit in the background, but yeah. Okay. Diving right into it. There's, I think I've already gone over this when I watched Communion, which like I said, not exactly the best fucking alien movie on the face of the earth. No pun intended. I guess UFOs or something. I should have figured the mic out before I started, so I don't have to futz with it. Good job, stupid. But I got that one out of the bat. 32 seconds in, right on. All right, so yeah, I think Communion was a good introduction to the genre of alien films. Just films in general featuring aliens. It could be either factual or fiction. I just really enjoy the genre. I think that it's a fun one that you can have a lot of fun with. You could play around with it like Independence Day does, make it an action thriller, or like you can dial it back a bit and try something new. The fourth kind, or like I think Close Encounters is like the peak, optimal alien like visitation kind of thing. Film obviously, but like I guess that there's like more to it than that. There's like also like kind of mass hysteria mixed in with it. It's a very visceral thing though. It's very very well done for what it is. I just enjoy any anything in that facet. Which brings us to our film today, which is a 2002 M. Night Shyamalan film called Signs. M. Night Shyamalan makes good movies, and I don't know how many friends I'm going to lose over saying this, but I genuinely do enjoy his filmmaking. He makes very artsy, fartsy, like high-end horror that just is like very poorly written, and I don't know if like it's supposed to be interpreted that way, but for some reason it just like really grazes my wheelhouse in such a way where I've never had a problem with many of his films. I mean, there's some that are just universally regarded as like beyond stupid because it's just like a creative nightmare, like the Last Airbender and the Lady in the Water. Which I've yet to see either of those films, but I've been told by people like, "Hey, just fucking steer clear." And I have no problem doing so. So yeah, like I got no problem with his filmmaking otherwise. The Sixth Sense was like groundbreaking film for what it was. My parents saw it in theaters, bought it on VHS as soon as they could get their hands on a copy, and showed it to me, and it was pretty fucking mind blowing. It was a very interesting thing to show a young man of my age. I think I was like 9 when that movie was popular. But yeah, anyway, the he just continued to make good, adequate movies. I like The Village too. I like the atmosphere of it. I really do like a slow burn horror. Where that one I remember seeing in theaters twice because I didn't get it the first time. I really did not understand what the fuck happened at the end, so I paid more money to go see it again. It wasn't like I was expecting it to be like jump scares, but it was like psychologically tormenting to me. And I remember the first time I saw it with my buddy Brandon Leo. Shout out Brandon, I hope you're doing all right. Um and I just like he I was like covering my eyes because I was expecting like jump scares or something, and he's like, dude, this is like no, not like that. And I like watched it and I really got into it, but then like because I'd been anticipating this whole different thing, you know I mean, like I was like 13, 14 years old when that movie came out, so I was like really into it, but like not expecting what it was. I had to go see it again. I saw it again, and it wasn't really scary. It wasn't as mind blowing, obviously, as like the first time around, but I think it was like just sheer shock and confusion that did it to me. So like with that being said, I just was like I don't understand where all this hate for him comes from, and like I get it. There's fanboys of Avatar that fucking despise him because of the creative liberties he took. But like that being said, like I don't know, I don't really find anything too abhorrent. Like he just makes films he feels like making. That the visit with the kids that go visit their grandparents, and it's like all kind of like found footage or supposed to be or whatever. Really fucking good film. Like I was very taken aback with how much I enjoyed that fucking movie. He still puts out quality work. It's just like once in a while he just does some dumb fucking shit, and like he gets reprimanded for it. But that being said, M. Night Shyamalan's a fucking fine filmmaker. But before I get it. Oh, and he's a Philly guy too. Like he always has like Philly people in it. Philly. Devil was one of his films that he was shot in Philly. I think he just like shot it based on like the shape and like weird architecture of this one building in Philly. It's like pretty cool. Like he's a pretty fucking well-rounded dude. But like I don't know, maybe I'm a little biased because I'm a local. Whatever. But I want to get back on aliens. Yeah, this is one of my favorite things. I'm not one of those people where like I think I've ever been abducted. I've seen some weird shit because I live in the woods, and I'm gonna leave it at that. If anybody's interested in hearing more about this, just like I don't think anybody's even listening to this at this point, but like please, like I implore you, comment. I'll go into it in further detail, but like I just don't think it's that interesting, to warrant like anything, other than just like I believe there's other shit out there. And I don't necessarily believe what the government is currently disclosing, other than like it's probably technology we already have, or it's technology that like they're comfortable with letting us know we have, but like doing it on the sneaky because they just know that like in a couple of years the patent's gonna go through or whatever, and then some like real dorky egghead's gonna be like, oh yeah, and then like the SR-72, second blackbird, we call it the hummingbird because it just floats, whatever, like that fucking thing. Some egghead's gonna like post on Facebook, and then it's gonna break the internet for like 2 days. And yeah, like you'll never guess what we've had the entire fucking time. Like it's that shit that people have been seeing that go in and out of the ocean. Like I'm sure it's something that already we have. But anyway, like that being said, there's some weird shit out there. One of which I don't think it's like extraterrestrial necessarily. I mean, it probably is, but like I don't know. Extraterrestrial implies like some kind of like cognition, or like I'm not entirely sure where the parameters lie on that one myself. I just know that like this thing that I'm about to explain is something that kind of strikes me as like maybe like it's classified as a satellite, but it might be something else, like a satellite for something that is like some kind of like ancient technology. But there's this thing in low space orbit called the Black Knight satellite, and apparently Nikolai Tesla communicated via radio waves with it. And I'm not entirely sure what the fuck they talked about. It's probably just bouncing signals off and seeing what happens. But he was able to communicate proficiently, apparently, with it. And that's always fascinated me. And it's always given me this healthy skepticism. We weren't even in space. And the fact that he found a way to not only identify it, but like talk to it is something that's bizarre. Like we didn't have satellites up there when he was around. We had nothing. The highest you could get was a fucking Zeppelin. And like, or possibly some kind of fucking kite or glider, or like, I don't know what exactly existed back then, but I know for a fact it wasn't fucking satellites. So all that being said, like, I don't know, that's something remarkable, and I've always found that very fascinating. And then like, there's a lot of debate over whether or not there's shit on Mars. I don't believe necessarily there's like a lot of the photos are like, showing freestanding structures or whatever. And I don't buy into that. But all those fucking weird lens things that were going on the last couple of batch of photos that they sent back, that was pretty interesting because it does appear that it just takes the photo in like rapid succession or blends photos. I forget how it was explained, but like basically it's like the same image, just like a couple of seconds apart, and then one there's like this thing flying by, and then the other one there's not. And it's like, okay, even if it was a fucking fly, like, okay, there's flies on fucking Mars, rad. What the fuck else is there? Like, I have no fucking idea what that is, and that just like gets my mind going. I don't know. I like this shit. I dork the fuck out on it. As you can see, I'm hyper as fuck despite getting my shit pushed in all day at work. But yeah, I got like 1 minute. So Signs, 2002 M. Night Shyamalan movie. One of my favorite movies of his, if not my favorite, just because it scared the shit out of me as a little kid. And, like, I don't know, it's just a really good fucking observation on what could potentially happen if there is some kind of hostile attempt at taking over Earth. I don't think that they'd be dumb enough to get flawed, like, this movie's got it dumb, but we'll get into that on the end of this. But, like, I'm just like, I really do like this potential roll of the dice on how a first interaction with extraterrestrial beings could go. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's really captivating and I really enjoy it. So without further without further ado, we're watching Signs by M. Night Shyamalan because I like saying his name. Hell fucking yeah. I don't know why this movie catches so much fucking shit. I love Signs. fucking, yeah, it's better with fucking age. Maybe go a little longer. Give it the Academy Award for all I fucking care. 2021 will still give it to you, M. Night Shyamalan. No, it was a great movie. I have no fucking idea why the fuck it's been catching so much heat. And, like, I'll give you this. It's not it's an incredibly deep movie if you're an idiot. But, like, if you just turn your brain off and want to enjoy a kind of crazy story about a guy who gets into a fucking fight with an alien, that's like, it's the perfect fucking movie for that. I don't understand what the fuck people are expecting from it. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. I know he just hits it over the fucking head with the coincidences and shit, but I like the attention to detail. I think that's one of this movie's finest fucking points, is that, like, it has this very astute attention to detail. Every scene is shot with, like, meaning. Now, mind you, if you're taking it to be, like, super full of itself and profound and smart, I don't think you're watching this movie for the right reasons, because ultimately it is a movie about a farmer in Pennsylvania that fucking gets into it with a fucking bunch of aliens. Like, they're wearing literal tinfoil hats. This movie is meant to be sort of lighthearted. It's like he yells "Vamonos" at the Brazilian kids. Like, I'm telling you, this fucking movie is just, it's meant to be entertaining and nothing more than that. And that's why I fucking like it. It knows exactly the tone to be. And upon rewatching this, I think this is the first time since I've graduated film school that I've sat down and actually watched Signs. It's gotten better, and, like, I understand exactly what he's going for. I really like how it doesn't really need to do anything too gratuitous. Like, you get pretty early on. Sorry, I gotta scratch my nuts. I've been sitting in my fucking sweatpants, and god damn are my nuts itchy. Happy that this is going into the podcast, actually. Yeah, my fucking my nads are sweating like a motherfucker. It's not even a bit, it's true. I don't know why, I just felt like mentioning that. But yeah, no, what was I getting? Whatever, I was getting into it. Fucking Signs. I like, yeah, so it's not like like, it's not trying to be smarter than it actually is. And I think that's what people are breaking its fucking balls about. But it's not one of those movies. It's just a very detailed movie. So here's something about it that I really did enjoy. There's this, like, overarching theme of Mel Gibson's, like, one of the motifs is religion. And in times of crises, especially extreme crises like intergalactic warfare, potentially, there, who do you turn to? Most people would probably turn to family, which in this case that's satiated, but a little bit further than that, they'd probably turn to God. And Mel Gibson, in the middle of having a crisis of faith, is just a very interesting predicament to be in. It's very specific, mind you, but it works. It functions very well for this role. And, like, he's not performing miracles. The closest thing he actually does it, because he's turned such a blind eye on faith too, is he hears the girl out at the drugstore, which is fine. It's fine. It's perfectly fucking fine. I don't understand what you need this film to be other than it touches everything it needs to touch. They get the book. Like, it's not like he's buying, like, going to the library and renting every fucking book. He buys a book. And it's, like, a good book too. So, like, it's got some, explanation, some, rudimentary whatchamacallit, extraterrestrial encounter shit. Like, you gotta start somewhere, and that seems like you got, like, just the stepping stones to get to what he ultimately experiences firsthand. But having that little bit of preparedness is what sets him apart. I like that shit. I don't know why. It's just weirdly, like, it's weirdly satisfying. It comes full circle. And I, like, do people have a problem with, like, stories being complete, that there is nothing left to the imagination, there is no ambiguity? Because that's one of the things I genuinely enjoy about this film. There's a start and there's a finish. Not every film needs both of those things. It can just kind of peter out. Like The Big Lebowski is one of the greatest films ever made, specifically because of that. The film just kind of peters out. It just kind of starts too. But that's the fucking beauty of it. And that's why it's a great film, is because it doesn't play by the rules. This, however, it plays by the rules, but not only that, it's so good at playing by the rules, it's sarcastic in tone. And I like that. And I like how brilliant it is, because when it needs to be grounded, it's extremely grounded. Like, one of the first couple of scenes is Mel Gibson's kid kills their dog because it's attacking his little sister. And it kind of like illustrates this like familial thing. There's like two generations of like Mel Gibson and I guess whatever his name, Joaquin Phoenix. They're brothers, and then the young his oldest and his youngest, it's a boy and a girl, and they're siblings. So there's this like dichotomy of like balance in the two of them, and I like that because like he has trouble with, or Mel Gibson has trouble with Joaquin Phoenix, like he has trouble with his brother. They don't really sync up. Like Joaquin Phoenix relies very much on Mel Gibson. There's actually this really beautiful scene that I really do enjoy, because it does something that like a lot like comic book shit overuses really like cool rudimentary film shit. And there's this thing that's I mean, you learn it in film school. It's like nothing that you're learning, but there's this shit called chiaroscuro lighting. And in Japanese Kurosawa films, there's this really good example of it in this film called High and Low. I think I've actually talked about this shit before, but if not, yeah, check it out. It's this film called High and Low. It's a Kurosawa film from the 50s or 60s, one of the two. But there's this lighting that he would like to use called chiaroscuro, and it means like your face is like partially obscured. And it's like done to create kind of this atmosphere, like this visible like sense of like deceit and like something is wrong. And they used to do it a lot in films, like as like a cutaway, but kind of as like a visual signifier of like something morbid is happening or something like deeper and underlying is there. It just creates this like obstruction and obscurity of the face, which is supposed to kind of distort your view of them. And I've always like he came up with it. It's used in everything. Like there's fucking chiaroscuro lighting in Star Wars. Like and it's like really on the nose. But in this, I like the way that he uses it, because there's the one scene where they're watching TV with the kids, and the kids fall asleep, and he's like, "Yeah, come on, give me some of the like some of the priest stuff to get me." Get me, make me feel comfortable. And he gives him a little bullshit, and then while he's giving this bullshit, he like breaks it down, and Mel Gibson's face is like more obscured than Joaquin Phoenix's face, and it's like Joaquin Phoenix throughout really is this like grounded party of like optimism. Like he's like that chaotic neutral that he's like exactly what he needs to be. A little bit aloof, maybe not exactly the most capable of people, despite being probably like arguably the most physically fit, as he was a minor league baseball player and like an army prospect, I guess. Like he's more than capable. He handles himself well, but he does rely very heavily on Mel Gibson, who is like the older guard and takes care of everything. But like he's in the middle of his own shit, so it's like I don't know. I really like the like the way that this lighting it like amplifies that. Like Mel Gibson hasn't quite gone entirely to the dark side. Like he hasn't completely relinquished anything, but he's very close to it because of like everything that happens with the wife. And like his brother is like still so blindingly optimistic. He's like clinging to anything, and I like that. I like that it's visually represented, because it's kind of done through like allegory and like a little bit of like bullshittery in the verbiage, like in what's spoken. And I like that. I like when the dialogue isn't exact, like it's visually said perfectly, but the dialogue is just kind of there to like pepper it in, and it's like it's done very well. Like a very well written fucking movie too, because it's not comic book speak where it's like tell them Johnny they're not or like everybody's speaking like they're written in fucking Chinatown. Like I don't know, they're very distinct voices. M. Night Shyamalan has this way of creating like very distinct characters in the way they speak. Like Mel Gibson's character being afraid to cuss when they're like running around the house trying to scare what they think is the the Wolfington brothers, and I forget the other guy's name, but the Wolfington brothers is fucking funny. We have a customer named Wolfington at my job, and I text my boss and told her that. Oh, those dastardly Wolfingtons. But anyway, yeah, fucking off on a tangent. Let's break into something too, and I like that. There's like there, there's like this thing that I've noticed in kind of like Hollywood representation of aliens, and it kind of annoys me that there's this very distinct like gray. It's like strictly grays. And if you know anything about aliens, like you can shut this off now if you don't. Like I'm done sucking the movie's dick. I'm gonna talk about aliens for a second and just kind of like point something out in this, and then we'll be done. But it's gonna take me about 10 minutes. So here we go. Yeah. So like grays are like the kind of aliens that are pretty predominantly displayed in Hollywood. And there's something about this film distinctly that I do appreciate, but I also am a little confused by it. So there's a lot of like premonition and shit, and like I understand that like a lot of like people that claim they've been abducted by aliens have like recall issues and like stuff like that, but I don't see these two like patterns as being like the same thing, but I kind of see it as like one being like a balance to the other. So like the one example that I can think of, because there's no fucking way they could have controlled this, and it would have just been coincidence because it's the book that the kid picked out. But they like open the book to the page where they have like the exact fucking house getting like lit up by a fucking like saucer or whatever with some fucking lasers and shit. And I found that to be very fucking interesting in the context of the film because, like, whatever, like, everybody's got, like, a general idea of, like, what a populace or, like, something specific looks like. And if, like, somebody has, like, a real distinct thing. Like, I remember there's this book I had that I got from the book fair when I was in, like, primary or middle school that had some story about a guy who he lived on a farm, and these aliens were doing backhand springs and we shoot at him with a shotgun. I forget what the fucking story is. Probably some fucking hick shit, and it was probably embellished for whatever book I was reading. But that being said, it stuck with me. Because like I grew up in a farmhouse, and I was like, fuck, does that mean that like I'm more likely to encounter aliens? Like, something? I don't fucking know. But what I'm getting at by all of this, because I'm really fucking high and I'm trying to stay focused here, staying on the grays. Yeah, there's like this like distinct idea of like what aliens are, and the grays are a subsect of the explore, like what people have recalled as encountering as far as aliens go. There's like some that are humanoid, there's some that are reptilian. They think that there's some that are like similar as like, what you would define as like godlike, if not a little bit like more humanoid with a touch of like something abstract. I'm not entirely sure what to make of all of that. I think that is a very, very interesting thing to explore because these aliens are very distinct. They're very, like, okay, I just watched Communion, so like we can go with Communion. You get the fucking gray, you get that mask thing, you get like the probing, you get like kind of that, and then they do have these like little like cheruby aliens, or like these like chubby little face thingies, which don't really remind me of anything, and I think that was just added additionally. Like it might be something that Whitley, whatever the fuck his name is, Whitley Schreiber, I think, yeah, whatever that guy encountered. That could be it. Oh, and also I want to point out that this is a work of fiction. This isn't like some fucking like first-hand story. So like, take it with a grain of salt. It is done for entertainment purposes, but the entertainment aspect of it is amped up by that. Not to discredit Whitley Schreiber or Communion or any of that shit. Like, I think that in its own right is a fucking awesome film, but like, this is entertainment as opposed to something that's supposed to be like factual and like, nonfiction, despite having a dramatization made of it. All that being said, though, I like that these aliens are distinct. They're nothing that they're like reptilian mixed with like kind of like grays, but like they have the humanoid like visage, which is it's weird, and it's very like blended, but like also ambiguous in a good way. And I like that they have the camouflaging thing too. That's really interesting, and it was like a fun thing to play with. Um, I really liked I only counted 2 jump scares too. I vaguely remember there being 3, but the one jump scare actually isn't a jump scare. The jump scare, and it's like a really smart jump scare because it lures you in that there's not gonna be any jump scares. So the one that's a non jump scare is when you see the leg in the cornfield, and then I guess yeah, and then there's I guess when the hand comes out and reaches at him or something like that, and then there's another one that does have a musical sting, and then there's another one at the very the hand in the basement at the very end. I forget what. There's 2 musical stings though that are jump scares. But yeah, like the jump scares are used sparingly, which I really did enjoy, and it's like 2000 from 2002, so they could have really hammed up the jump scares, but it's like the way they kind of like set it up, where they lure you in with that false sense of security, with the first handful of them, it's pretty good. I like that. I also like the brutality of like why the jump scares are necessary. Like it kind of like amplifies what you're feeling, and it amplifies your sense of like helplessness. And I like that. Whereas opposed to it just being kind of used for everything, and that dullens the effect. It cheapens it. But yeah, back to like the aliens. I like the concept they used. Now, I am a little confused on where they got the idea that these creatures like secrete poison. So it would appear that they're breathing oxygen. So these aliens secrete poison that I'm assuming they can use on each other to a lesser effect, but like for us, it's like used as like a culling thing. Like it's like an easy, tranquil pacification thing. You just hold it up to somebody, and there's not much fuss. There's not like they're pretty physically dominant from what it seems like. They left the wounded one back there, but he only lost a couple of fingers. He's not that hurting for it or whatever. But it's just very interesting to me. I like the kind of like the mentality and like the kind of like the playbook that they use, because they set it up like very logically too. Like if they're a species of alien that want to make contact, they would probably do so peacefully. They try to make first contact, but instead it kind of seems like they're sending in their special forces, like the army guy points out. But then like the kid points out, he's like, they're not here to. Like they're either here to recon us or they're here to take us over and harvest us. And it seems like they tried, and then like the water technique worked. But like I gotta like not everybody's gonna have like you gotta suspend disbelief a little bit for this film. Not everybody is gonna have like I was gonna make some fucking joke about how I liked how even at the end like true like I'm not sure if M. Night Shyamalan did this in fucking like sincerity, or if he did this to just kind of like poke fun at the media, but like I did notice it and I thought it was fucking funny. Like there's like a part at the end when like they you see the reflection of the alien in the TV right before he unplugs it, because that like the TV screen's blank. They're like teasing what the method for the people in the like the Middle East figured out this ancient technique for getting rid of the aliens, and it seems to have scared them off. And then he unplugs the TV to bring it out there, and bam, alien in the living room holding the little boy hostage. But I like how they're teasing it. Like everybody just survived this shit, and there's still aliens left behind, according to the news. And they're still like, oh, yeah, find out at 11. Like, you fucking cunts. Like, not everybody's gonna have, like, there's a life or death situation that they could have probably helped if they would have just said, oh, yeah, it's fucking water. Like, what assholes. And I think I'm, like, jaded, like, because of, like, just, like, listening to years and years of Opie and Anthony, where like they just point out like what absolute fucking cunts the media are, and like that is it, like quite literally fucking like on the nose, like, oh yeah, it's a life or death situation, but like first let's bring you an ad for Brawny, or I don't know, Tampax, I don't know what the fuck ever. That was not good. That was not good. Oh, yeah, man. That was my attempt at it. I got 20 fucking minutes out of this. I can't believe it. But yeah. Anyway, watch Signs. Like, just suspend disbelief and turn your mind off. Get really fucking high. You'll enjoy the shit out of this movie. I don't know why everybody's making fun of it, but you know what? Give it another shot. Joy Taco sent you. Tell somebody. I don't fucking. Where am I going with it? God damn, I felt like I was going to end on a high note and fuck that one up. All right. Thank you for listening. For listening. For listening.